When my gyro failed, I said, okay, we'll look at the magnetic compass, and my magnetic compass was going around in circles. Fellow in Jeddah had stolen the magnets out of the compensating magnets from the magnetic compass. Came back to my original skills, swung the compass around, adjusted the compass, sailed, came all the way to Suez. No technician available for either the radar or this. The thing that happened was the moment we went into the Mediterranean, I was in thick fog, all the way up to Vostok. And believe me, I took it through there. And once I reached Vostok, got all the equipment and all, I said, now nothing worse can happen to me. Time as a captain. Everything has failed, and I have worked it.
Hi guys. So there's an enormous amount of experience in this room today. I'm really it's almost overwhelming to introduce this person, Captain Ashok Mahapatra, that we have today. He started in 1973 as a cadet in Sindhya Shipping Company in India, and eventually rose to the rank of master, and then he came down to the shore side where when he joined Director General of Shipping in India. In that uh, organization, he rose to the rank of Deputy Nautical Advisor. When he switched to IMO in 1998, and from then on, he eventually rose to the rank of Director Marine Safety Division of the International Maritime Organization. So just to give you a context of that, many of our regulations over the years and many of the MSC circulars have passed through his hands. Eventually, he retired from IMO in 2018 and started following his passion. And as today, he stands as a filmmaker, a producer. So he has, I mean, I do not recall having met anybody with as much experience as this person has today. So, very excited to have this conversation on so many different topics that we can touch on. And really, I really hope that everybody gains from this conversation we're going to have today. Very warm welcome to you, sir. Uh, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Devashish. It's a pleasure to be here. Probably at some time directly talk to my fellow seafarers. Thank you very much.
Right. So, yeah, I'm very sure that the plethora of experience which you have is going to add a lot of value to our viewers. But I'd like to start off this discussion from even before you joined Sea. I mean, how did all that happen? How did it come across? What was the backstory behind that?
Well, that is very interesting. It is something which I said in my farewell speech at the last Maritime Safety Committee, which I was the secretary to. I said, while I'm proud of being a seafarer, and there is no doubt about it, I also would like to say that I'm an accidental seafarer. Accidental because I did not initially channel my energy of becoming a seafarer. My original idea was to become a doctor.
A doctor.
Doctor. Okay. So I appeared for the medical entrance examination, stood fourth on the merit list. And when I went to take my admission in a very reputed medical college, I was told that I could not join. So I was taken aback a little bit. And when I was taken aback and I asked why, he says, listen, you are supposed to complete 17 years on 31st of October of that year.
The problem was that you were not meeting the age criteria for them.
Yeah, and this was something which was not written in the criteria which they had published when we appeared for the examination. And you'd be surprised, my date of birth was 7th November. So that means I was short.
7 days short.
Oh my God. And there came a little lightning that hit me. A person, 17 years old boy with hardly any maturity, hit with such. It literally sent me off, almost off the rails.
Right.
So as I came back home, I was sitting with one of my friends in a small tea stall. Those days we did not have cafes, back in
Okay.
72, 73 in time.
And this was back in Bhubaneswar.
Yeah, I came back in Bhubaneswar.
Right.
Having a cup of tea, and one chap came, he was very happy, and I said, no, I'm joining the merchant navy.
That's all.
So then got talking to him. Oh, he says right now there are a lot of companies are taking a lot of cadets. So one idea came to me. I think, hand wrote and posted letters to the shipping companies saying that I'm willing to join as a cadet.
Right.
Having very little clue of what life in the merchant navy is.
Right.
And I forgot about it, joined graduation, chemistry honors, plodding along. 1 month later, I get a letter from India Steam Navigation. Please come for an interview.
Okay.
So that took me a little bit by surprise. So when I went to my father was at least happy that here is something which could bring me out of a depression.
Right.
Honestly, I must say, if I look back today, I was a very dejected and a depressed young chap who, through no fault of his,
Sure.
got penalized for something which was absolutely unacceptable.
Right.
So my dad said, okay, let him at least go and have a break and come back.
And you can understand for a 17-year-old, you have struggled for this exam, you have looked forward to it, probably studied for over a year or more, and then you scored such good, great results, and then somebody says you're 7 days short. It's a very
No, it was indeed. So I went to Bombay, had a fairly reasonable time, came back, attended the interview and came back.
right.
The next thing I knew, a month later, I had a letter from the company that please report to our Calcutta office at Strand Road to join the ship. And it was this.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited. Suddenly my mood picked up and everything. And
But you had no, I mean, nobody in your family had any history of shipping or anybody else.
surprisingly, no, but also surprisingly, yes. For the simple reason, when my father was young, he was selected for the then Dufferin.
Oh, okay.
But since he was the eldest son of the eldest son of the eldest son, my grandmother threatened that if you go there, I will commit suicide. So he gave up his this. In some ways, I mean, so today I look back at it, I was fulfilling my father's
Yes,
dream.
he wanted to fulfill his dreams.
Yeah, but unwittingly, I did. So then I joined, finished all the formalities here. Again, here also we had a bit of an issue on the same age profile. Since I had not completed 18 years, I could not sign the indentures. I don't know whether you are aware, in the Indian companies, we used to sign indentures for apprenticeship with a certain company.
Right.
So well, that for my father had to come down and sign on my behalf.
Okay.
Which which was a couple of months. Means I joined in July, and my date of birth was November for a couple of months.
Every time this lack of age is catching up with you in some ways.
All my life.
Right.
So, and then I joined, went out to sea, and I must say that I had one of the best mentors. He was the first captain, Captain Farooq P. Godrej, who was a Parsi gentleman and a tremendous confidence in himself. And he passed on that confidence to me. So much so that when we were returning back after the voyage,
Yeah.
he allowed a 9 month experienced cadet to do the ship handling of a ship into the port of Chal, which is a complicated thing. He said, I'm standing on the bridge, I will correct if anything is wrong, but you take.
Wow.
That gave me a confidence that I could do anything.
Absolutely.
And then I continued, I became a master at a very reasonably young age. And then uh, after being a master for 3 years, I was bored to death. To be honest, the work became routine.
Right.
And my son also was going to start schooling. So I joined Government of India, knowing that commercial work is not my kettle of fish. So I joined the directorate, and I was there from 1986 to 1998.
Right.
And during that time, I rose to the rank of deputy nautical advisor. Then, while I was doing that, we were doing one of these IMO seminars that usually finishes on a Friday. And as I was going on Friday, just closing up the seminar, I had a call from London, from the then director of Maritime Safety Division. He says, can you come on Wednesday?
Right.
For an interview? We are shortlisted. I had not applied for the IMO.
Oh, you did not even apply for it?
No, I did not even apply to the IMO for the.
Okay.
That we have a position, we have shortlisted you. Can you come? So I said, listen, it's closed now. I can't talk to my director general, and I will just see. Wonderful. I said, I'll let you know Monday.
Right.
So I went back home, discussed with my family, and everybody seemed very chirpy. I said, I'm only going for an interview. So Monday morning, I went to the DG, and the DG was he liked me, and so I told him, he says, as much as I would hate to lose you, I said, lose me what? He said, if you go for the interview, you will get it.
Right.
But I cannot say no to you. I said, sir, but I'm in Government of India. I cannot go like this. He said, let's talk to the secretary. Secretary also was a very decent guy. He said, listen, you ask for permission, the file will not even reach me till Wednesday. So what do you do? He says, listen, tell him to ask for casual leave for 3 days.
Just go for it.
And permission to leave the country, because Government of India officers can't leave without permission.
Right.
And you, as the head of department, have the powers to give him.
Right.
So that happened, and I rang up IMO immediately. I said, okay, I'm coming for the interview. So it was already Monday. How do I listen? So Tuesday, fortunately, because of attending IMO meetings and all, I had a UK visa.
Right.
So I told them, they booked tickets. They sent the tickets to me. I picked up the tickets. Tuesday night I flew. I reached 7 o'clock in the morning in London. 11 o'clock I attended the interview. Came back to the airport. Took the evening flight back.
Flew back to
And
India.
Thursday morning I was back in the office.
Wow. So exactly your 3 days of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday or Wednesday.
So that is how I went for the interview and came back. And then again, once again, I forgot about it.
Right.
Then the pujas were there, and, Durga Puja was there, so I had come home. So then my secretary rings up from Bombay. He says, "Sir, IMO wants to speak to you."
Right.
I said, "You give her my number." So she gave my number. So she rang up. He says, Secretary General has approved your appointment.
That's
So what? He said, no, your appointment. You tell me when you want to join. I said, listen, I'm on leave right now. I need to go to my office after about 1 week. Then I'll discuss it. So I went back to Bombay, talked to my DG. DG said, see, I told you I will lose you. I talked to my secretary. Secretary said, I will move the files that I have given you verbal permission.
Yeah.
So that there is no problem. Because you are breaking a glass ceiling.
Right. So at that point of time, nobody ever had.
No, there was somebody else, but he had gone almost post retirement.
Right.
Captain Gusharan Singh had gone post retirement from Government of India. He had gone, and nobody else was there.
And you were just about in your 40s or something.
Very
Early 40s.
really fun.
Right.
So then we started this thing, and then I said, then we had this STCW 95, which was coming in. So there was a lot of work. So DG told me that work has to finish before I go. I said, okay, I'll finish it by the end of February, and I'll 28th of February I booked my ticket for London, got my visa and all that because that has to be a residence visa.
Yeah.
25th of February I finished all the STCW work. 28th I flew. On 1st of March I joined. So that is how my journey into IMO, my life. Then subsequently, I worked my way up in the IMO and I retired at the top of the level because the director of Maritime Safety Division is the peak for a professional person to reach in the IMO.
And the one post higher than that is Secretary
General, that is an elected, that is not a selected. Member governments elected and it's a political. So
the person behind it is not typically a marine person, like
not
or navy.
Not necessarily.
May not be.
I mean, we had Dr. C.P. Srivastava, who was the Secretary General, who was an IAS person.
Okay.
So it not a for marine person that is the highest level you can be.
Right.
So then, when I was saying my favorite speech, a question came to me. I said, today, if I look back and somebody asks me, what would you do with your life if you have to start all over again? I repeated, I would repeat this process all over again. I love the
that is such a rare answer to have to this question.
So that is how, that is my part in life in this thing. Of course, after that, once I retired, do a bit of consulting to governments, but I'm basically following my passion. I make films, and that's how it is.
So, okay, we are going to touch upon. I mean, there are so many tangents to go from here, but I'm going to take you back to your life at sea again in the 80s, probably, right, or in the 70s, late 70s. So, how was it like? I mean, I'm probably way too young to even imagine how that was. So, how was it?
Let me tell you.
Yeah.
There were no container ships. Okay. No container ships. The best you had, you used to put containers on decks of cargo ships. Okay. And lash them up, and 6 to 12 containers you used to carry, but they would be manually loaded in the docks and all. General cargo ships ranging between 12 and 16,000 deadweights. Bulk carriers, if it was a 45,000 tonners, it was a big bulk carrier.
Right.
And tankers were there, with those days, quite a few of the tankers had front and aft accommodation. The front accommodation used to be for the deck officers. The aft accommodation used to be for the engineers. I see. Okay. There was no crude oil washing, nothing of that sort. And that was, and one of the turnaround in ports was quite convenient. That means we used to come to Calcutta from Kidapur docks. It used to be a month's stay, 1 month. Right. You used to discharge and then load for either Black Sea, Europe, UK continent, US East Coast, US West Coast, all these places, Australia. Right. So we used to have a reasonably good time. Of course, money wise, we were not that. Let me tell you, we started when we were cadets, we used to be paid a stipend of 80 rupees a month. 80 rupees a month. When you became a second mate, your salary was something like 2.5, 3,000 rupees. I see. Mate, say about 5,000 rupees. When I left sea as a master, was 15,000 rupees, which was a princely sum in 1980 to 83. I see. It was a princely sum. I mean, you were in the higher bracket. I mean, even
As
then,
compared to any profession in India at that point.
and even the foreign flag, this masters used to get $1,200 those days.
I see. And what was the dollar?
It used to vary. I think it was 14 or 15 rupees a dollar.
Acha, okay.
But the only advantage was they were not uh, they were not taxed and we used to be taxed.
Oh, you used to be taxed.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The Indian this
Because of it being Indian company. That's why.
because that 182 days non-residency was never.
But criteria was there. I mean, the foreign flag business went okay.
Yeah. So though the range, the difference was not that. Means if you convert cash wise, not. But they were about 30%. Those days actually our taxation was for us it used to be 40%. It was so they used to earn 40% more than us. But then you had better this thing. We were not on contract. We were on regular employment. Company used to put provident fund into the this thing and all those things. You were paid for leave. All that was there. So that is how it was. So that was the kind of life. Slowly, when we had the first fuel crisis, when OPEC ganged up and started, then the situation started changing because ship owners started thinking as to how to cut costs rather than employing somebody directly. That is the time when management companies came up. And that has changed the concept that the seafarer is no longer being employed directly by the owner, but a middleman.
But I mean, I have seen volumes for all my life. So what we used to sort of hear about Wallen being born in 1903 and has more than 100 years of legacy. So there were some management companies then, or like Wallen and all, like.
Honestly, I'm not aware of the history of Wallens, but as far as I recall, these were these were not management, they were ownership companies, which then morphed into management companies.
Okay. Yeah.
Means you had the Norwegian owners, Williamson and all these people, correct. So they morphed into management.
Right. So this is prior 80s. You're saying most of the owners were managing their own ships. There was no need for a management company. But right now, I mean, of course, eventually that need started happening. And would you say that happened because of the urge to cut costs, or why did it happen?
It did become that way.
Yeah.
And ship owners also, I mean, following the Anapurkadis disaster, also wanted to protect themselves by inducing a third party management. We could give them some kind of a cover rather than but that is a part and parcel of it. These are basically it is a commercial decision.
Right.
And today, if you look at it, even the ships are no longer owned. Majority of the ships are bank owned rather than
Okay.
yes. So the banks take a decision, and this is a it's a very complex issue. Right?
Issue, right. And oh, I mean, so coming to the operations of the ships at that time, first of all, of course, so there is no GPS. You're taking a morning sight and you're sort of estimating, or you're putting a DR if you're overcast and trying to estimate your best positions. So, was that a challenge? Did you ever face like a big downtime because you did not have gadgets or like position fixing systems?
Honestly, I'll tell you, it was something which we enjoyed, and we used to look not at GPS or anything. We used to do morning sight, do the afternoon sight, VR. Then between the and the morning, the chief officer used to take the star sights, and it was actually a challenge and very interesting. I mean, I'll tell you one. I had a very senior master called Captain Pandya, who I was a cadet under him, officiating as third officer. And whenever there was an overcast, and when the overcast and sun would even peep out, he would, even if I was off watch, he would yell for me, call me, rather than allow the second mate or the whoever was on watch to take the side. Because side taking is a skill.
Yes.
So using the sextant and running the arc of the sextant is a real skill, and I still love it. Talking about this skill of taking sides is very interesting, and it is a skill. And then there's an additional skill you develop,
Yeah.
which is that when you do a winter mount Atlantic, when there is no sun for days together,
Yeah.
you apply the set and leeway based on what information is there on the sailing directions.
Right. Right.
And believe me, we had masters, we used to apply that, and we were never off our coastline by more than a couple of miles.
Wow.
And today you ask anybody, they are so dependent on this. People don't even read the
Yeah.
sailing directions.
Absolutely. It's not just about sailing directions. What I feel is that we have grown up in a world of like even having a GPS or a gyro or a radar or an ARPA. I mean, um, what you're talking about, taking a site and calculating a position down to correct to a certain degrees, is takes a lot more skill than probably just handling the sextant. You have to your thought process, your calculation accuracy of your calculation, your understanding of what you're calculating. I mean, for us it was more of an academic exercise, because sextant and sites we also have taken, or we still teach the cadets now, but it's more like an academic exercise. For I mean, nobody's life depends on. And once it happened in one of my voyages that the gyro failed, and when the gyro fails, everything is offline. I mean, every your radar is getting feed from gyro, so you cannot have your radar. You're just putting a DR heading over there. I mean, your course is you're heading and everything. So at that point of time, I have actually felt this, that when it comes down to the basics of navigation, so it puts everything to the test. And you are talking about a generation where, anyways, you are every day you are living with those concepts.
Now that we have said it, I had very interesting this thing in my first command. I sailed from Chennai with a full load of iron ore and a 45,000 tonner bulk carrier. 45,000 tonners were big size that time. Rounding Sri Lanka, my radar failed. Couple of hours later, my gyro failed. We had no GPS. And we before the no the gyro failed later. We radars failed, but we made it to Jeddah for bunkers. When we went to Jeddah for bunkers, I went in with no radar. You have no navigational marks to come to Jeddah, or reefs all around. You went by your own skills, you got anchored, you took bumpers, came out of Jeddah, and my gyro failed. When my gyro failed, I said, okay, we'll look at the magnetic compass, and my magnetic compass was going around in circles. So I said, what happened? I went up. Some fellow in Jeddah had stolen the magnets out of the compensating magnets from the magnetic compass. Came back to my original skills, swung the compass around, adjusted the compass, and
Drew a new deviation card, and
new duration, and then we sailed, came all the way to Suez. No technician available for either the radar or this. The thing that happened was the moment we went into the Mediterranean, I was in thick fog. All the way up to Vostok. And believe me, I took it through there. And once I reached Vostok, got all the equipment and all that, I said, now nothing worse can happen to me in my uh, time as a captain. Everything has failed and I have worked it. So today, if you fail something, there's so much of a panic. If the GPS goes, everybody is lost.
of course. Then you suddenly find yourself on land or something like that. I mean, it is, yeah, we are heavily dependent on technology. In fact, one of the transitions which we have seen in our time is the transition of paper charts to ECDIS. And that transition, even that transition to us was, we used to feel so shaky. What will we do without paper charts? We cannot trust this computer. What if the computer shuts down? But now it has become a norm. Obviously, for the last few commands that I have had, I've never had that thing in my mind that I need a paper chart. But I believe it must have been a very difficult transition when these equipment started coming, and probably that belief took a little while
Honestly, I am a great fan of technology, and
yeah.
while the GPS and all were coming in, sat nav were coming in, I still insisted that my officers don't lose their skills of taking sides and reading. And then when we used to do one of the things which we did was, you call it voyage plan. We used to say, have you laid the courses on the chart? And before I left, the second mate had to lay all the courses on pencil on the chart. I would go through each chart as a master and look at it. Okay, then I would mark the places where I wanted to be called, irrespective of whether I'm there around on the bridge or not. But these are the places I would like to be called. Certain places where I expect traffic, where I expect the weather to be off. That's how the transition used to be.
Right. Right. So it was just a coastline and then your instructions on the coastline. That was,
I never was in a ship which had an art bar.
oh, okay.
Only one radar.
No two wrestle or putting the chalk marks on that white pencil marks, and then you're trying to find out the CPA and DCPA. So that is exactly, I mean, the radar plotting thing. I mean, it's a simple exercise. It's not one of the complicated exercise, but
It's
I would
pure
say
geometry.
it's pure geometry. But even then, I find, and this is not about a generation thing, but in today's, many people are confused about how to, find out the course and speed of the other vessel from this information, stuff like that. So yeah, I mean,
We used to
basics were really strong that you had.
we used to have, I think, you could only get your second mate certificate if you did what was called a radar observer's test,
Right.
where you had to do plotting and all that on paper. And then,
It's still there. I mean, right now also.
yeah. Anyway, that's how my life has been.
Wonderful. And so do you find that the captains of that generation, when you were cadets or when you were junior officers, how did you see them, or how were they in their?
I cannot comment anything on this present generation of senior officers because I've not sailed with them, so it would be unfair for me. But for me, and what I followed as a master myself, is that they were there as mentors for us. They were hard taskmasters. I mean, there is no two ways about.
Right.
But that hard taskmasters made us men from birds. And I don't know whether that trend is still continuing, but they were mentors. I mean, we used to be, if the captain liked you, probably once for Christmas or New Year, you, he would give you a beer to drink.
Okay.
Listen, and of course, we did not have dry ships that day, where we had regular bonded stores and all that. So which was, but it was a thing that, oh, captain has sent you a beer means he appreciates you. So that kind of a thing was there. I mean, he was more like a father figure there for you,
Right.
and that is how we survive.
Right. 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 And I have heard this from a lot of number of senior people that I'm not saying maybe all of the masters, but some masters where you could see them only once in a while, and you could see them like the master will not take a. I mean, it's unimaginable for the master to come down and take a round on deck or something. I'm not sure if this is the right thing, but in general people say that most masters were away from the day to day work as compared to today's
No,
generation.
no. There's a little bit of difference there. They were not away from it. They never interfered. You had the master's rounds once a week. Master would never have his meals in his cabin.
Okay.
He would be there at the lunch table, and you were expected to be there at the lunch
At the lunch table.
So it was not that he was aloof, but he did not interfere in day-to-day working. His point of contact used to be only two people: the chief officer and the chief engineer, and the second mate for noon chips. That's all.
Right.
But whether you like it or not, he had an overall picture of it, who was doing
Right. Okay.
His information used to come from the chief officer because he was grooming the chief officer to take over command.
Hmm. Great. So, and now eventually then you stepped ashore, and was it a conscious decision to come to the DG office, or
Yes, it was a conscious decision. The thing is, after 3 years in command, I got bored. I said, what more? I can't stay the next 30, 40 years doing the same job. So I came ashore and I knew various, I knew commercial side was not my kettle of fish. Being a superintendent, marine superintendent, did not
did not resonate with you that much?
did not resonate. DG's office, yes, because in the DG's office you're making regulations, you're making development, policy making. The salary as in DG's office was probably the least you're getting from any.
It was even lesser than, I mean, any other shore jobs you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you joined a shipping company, they would get about 3 times what we were getting in DG's office.
Wow.
So that is how but it was a conscious decision. It was,
Right.
I mean, I honestly, I said, what more? And
Right.
I always needed to push myself for a target. I didn't find it.
And I mean, while you're during your time in the DG's office, you enjoyed yourself. I mean, it was
It was very interesting because it was okay. You are doing policy matters. You are dealing with ship owners. You are dealing with bureaucrats. You are dealing with ministers. You are dealing with politicians.
Right.
I mean, it's all sorts of things. It was very varied.
right.
You're attending parliament, answering parliament questions.
Right. I see. And at that point of time, you had some exposure into IMO as well, right? I mean, as a Indian representative.
I used to go as a delegate to quite a few meetings.
Is that where they tracked you and they found the potential that, okay, this can be our.
I'm not sure I can answer that question because I never asked that this thing.
You never asked IMO to, you never applied to IMO.
No, I did not, and I did not ask them how they shortlisted me. Means I mean that would be probing.
Right, right.
Though I do know because when I rose to that position and I said, I know how they do it, and that I would keep it to myself rather than
Right, right. No, no. I mean, of course. So when, so you all of a sudden, when you are serving as a deputy nautical advisor in the DG, you get a call from IMO saying that we want you here, right?
we were shortlisted.
The shortlisted you. Okay. Okay. So how many candidates were there for this particular post?
There were 4 of us.
All different nationalities, or
I was the only one from a developing country. The rest were all from developed countries.
okay, okay, I see. And so when you made that switch, you immediately left DG, or you left DG later on?
No, no, I went what is in called as keeping a lien in the DG's service.
Okay.
And then subsequently, when they offered me the permanent position, then I said I left voluntarily left into service.
Right, right. I see. And see, this is the part which I'm really excited about because we rarely get anybody. I don't think I mean, we will ever get somebody who has actually been in such a senior position in the International Maritime Organization. And to that end, I mean, I'd love to know how does the IMO work overall, or any facts that you find interesting on during your experience in IMO. What did you do? And to just to share with the viewers that, as I understand, STCW 2010 was primarily your brainchild, right? Is that the correct way to put it?
Yeah, I mean, I'll first give you an idea of the STCW. You see, I realized that almost in 2005, that 10 years had passed since we last looked at. There were a lot of inconsistencies, technology had developed. So the way IMO works, the proposal has to come from a member state to this. But IMO Secretariat is not a member state and we cannot make proposals.
So just to get this clear, I mean, let's say you as IMO, if IMO identifies there's a gap in the industry and some new.
I'm telling you how it is. Okay. So then I talked to a few member states and got them to make the proposal as if it was their idea. Okay, which is fine, and then I identified it, and then the way IMO works is a member state identifies an issue that needs to be included or discussed. Then a proposal is set for a new work program item to the Maritime Safety Committee. The Maritime Safety Committee, as the policy decision maker, looks at it because a lot of information has to be given. You can't just give a one page. And then decides yes or no. If it is yes, it goes to the technical subcommittee because there are about different subcommittees of specialization. They look at it, and usually the subject matter is discussed for a minimum period of 2 years, if not more.
Right.
Initially, you start off with a 2 year target limit, but if you require more time, you ask for more time and it is given. If things work all right, and at the end of 2 years, you finalize a set of amendments, whatever you want to do. You send it to the Maritime Safety Committee for approval. The Maritime Safety Committee then approves it and then circulates it to member states for adoption after 6 months. Member states are free to give their comments and all that.
Right.
Once they give their comments and it is the final text is agreed upon and the amendment is adopted. Then there is a time period of 1 year for members to give any objections if there are. If that is not there, then it is deemed to be accepted.
Tacit acceptance
procedure, and then after 6 months, it enters into force. One thing I must say that in IMO, at least in the Maritime Safety Division, we've never had a situation where we have voted on a proposal. We have always worked with consensus, trying to assuage everybody's feelings, requirements, interests, everything.
Right.
We have got. It is not that what some member state is getting the best, wants the best. I may have some other ideas. But what is finally adopted is something which everybody could live.
Right.
That is how the procedure is.
And would you say that an average, and by the way, when you say procedure, what you mean is not the MSc circulars, like this is an amendment to the to SOLAS or amendment to MAPO, something like that.
Yeah. And it's the time period of this is usually a 4 year.
4 years.
Minimum 4 years.
And once it is ratified, then it is immediately into force. I mean,
6 months later.
Oh, 6 months for to be into force.
Right.
And what if, I mean, is this process still going to, I mean, it is still taking the same amount of time, even after so many years. There's no other way to optimize this or,
see, you have to appreciate that every country has interests, and everybody who's coming to the IMO will have to consult with various cooperating bodies within each country to see that it doesn't affect them otherwise. So you have to be
a lot of consideration
cognizant of various countries' interests and beliefs. So that is why it will take. But believe me, this process, the IMO process, is the shortest in international law.
I see. Okay. Usually takes much more than
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And what do you really think of? Do you think that the STCW should need another amendment very soon, or depending on the
No,
how
it does. See, one of the things which I did in 2010, I had put up that the convention should be reviewed every 10 years. It was a resolution passed, it's not mandate. But then it depended on member governments putting up the proposal.
Okay.
It took a long time. It's only now, last year, some member governments put up. So it is now a process is on. But you will definitely require a major revision. If not, means to me, honestly, not a revision to the STCW convention, but I think we require another convention which will deal with autonomous ships.
Okay. Yeah.
And that is a challenge, but you definitely require revisions within the identified technological advanced skill sets that is required of the skill set that was required when I was there and the skill set what is required now are vastly different.
Very different. Very different.
So you will have to include them and bring them out into the, and you have to drop also a lot of obsolete and inconsequential situations. Like, for example, you don't require the Morse code because nobody is really talking about the Morse code.
Sure. Sure.
I mean, semaphore is out now.
Yeah.
So similarly, you have to start taking up this because otherwise,
I
it
think
will become,
Semaphore was out in the STCW 2010 also, right?
yeah.
It was already done. Yeah.
We wanted to get rid of the Morse, but we could not because some of the distress signals still identified it within the coal rigs,
Right.
and nobody wants to touch the coal rigs.
Right.
And you see, it affects. This is where you have to be careful that you do an amendment which does not affect some existing regulation.
Right. So, what you're trying to say in the next amendment of STCW, if I'm understanding this correctly, we should be, I mean, looking at something which is closer to what the job is actually on board and how it is evolving over time. I mean, are we there yet, or
Yeah,
is it going to be?
these skill sets are already there. There is no doubt about it. But skill sets, technology is bringing in more skill sets that is required, which is not, and technology is moving fast. So that is why we'll have to put in and get in those new skill sets.
Right, right. So those skill sets will cater to the newer generation and
Yeah.
their thought processes and how they pick up information in general. Sure. So yeah, I mean, any particular incident you remember about your IMO journey, like not to do anything very regulatory or something, and just about how it usually works, or I mean,
No, I gave you how it works.
yeah, I mean,
But
anything else?
we are a multicultural organization. You have to have geographical distribution in work.
Right.
You work in 6 languages: English, French, Spanish, Arabic, Chinese, and Russian. So these are the languages you have to work. All official documents have to be sent out in all these languages. So
Right.
these are challenges. You, means as a director, if I get somebody from France, he will speak to me in French.
Right.
So I have to have somebody who is speaking French to understand. But these are challenges that are there. But it is wonderful working with an international organization which gets you so many friends. I wouldn't say no foes, but a lot of friends, and you get to understand the culture of practically every country in the world.
Right.
And of course, the other thing is I'm one of those few people who put his foot in all the eight planets, continents of the world.
You've been to Antarctica as well? Wow. Okay. Uh, Lovely. So amazing. And I mean, I'd love to go through your journey of transitioning from, you know, starting as a seafarer and then rising up all the way to the director of IMO, and then coming down to follow your passion into filmmaking. And that is so much different from everyone. It sort of proves a point that you can really do anything you want and at any stage of your life if you really want that.
I can put it down in one simple sentence. Where there is a will, there is a will. Period.
Yeah.
I mean, I always say that follow your passion,
Right.
dream big, you will fall. So what? Worst can happen, you'll fall, you'll hurt your knees. That's about it. You'll get up and walk again. Come on.
So true, so true, and that's exactly what all of us here also in this company believes that if we want to achieve something in life, it should be so far into like it should be an almost unachievable dream, which then forces your blood to boil through your veins and then reach out to that. That's fantastic. I mean, yeah. So that's a fascinating journey that we saw you take all the way up to the director of IMO, and then coming down to follow your passion. As you said, there's a will, there's a when there's a will, there's a way. And yeah, it's so. Can you tell me a little bit about this journey that you have started now into filmmaking? What kind of films are you doing, and what is the vision there?
See, there are two things. I come from a very creative family. My family is a family of writers.
Oh, okay.
My father started writing after he retired. My first film was based on a story written by him. It is my tribute to my father. Now I'm following up. He wrote in Odia. I'm translating each of his books now into English. The first English translation would be launched on his death anniversary. It is the kaleidoscope of life. And he has written short stories based on the experiences that he has seen. He has written treatises. He has written historical essays.
Right.
So that is his this thing.
The
Unfortunately,
story, the book name will be Kaleidoscope of Life.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know whether I'll come to Calcutta. I would love to come to Calcutta and do a launch at Ashok bookstore. If they agree, then I'll come and sign it for them. I'll bring the books in. But I have to talk to them. I have not talked to them. But then my uncle, he's a famous poet. He is a Padma Vibhushan. Oh,
Oh,
winner of Saraswati Samman,
I see.
Sahitya Academy award winner, also president of Sahitya Academy.
Ah,
So that is how it was. And then I did this as a tribute. And then I looked at it and seeing how I felt in the younger days and how people are struggling. The company that I have promotes young and creative talent.
right. Right.
Rather than the run-up in the industry. That is how it is.
Right.
I don't intend making Bollywood or Tollywood blockbusters. I intend to make classic films. To me, films or this thing is poetry in pictorial vision. That is how I have come. I have already done three films. One, Joseph, which did very well internationally and nationally.
And
Though may not be commercial, but I was not expecting.
Yeah, but then correct me if I'm wrong, but the film Joseph has earned a number of awards internationally, right? And I think something like 27 awards or something.
I yes. So this is the last film which I co-produced with two others. A Marathi film did its premiere at the Berlinale Film Festival, which is one of the top festivals of the world.
Did you go there at for
Yes, we
Okay.
were there. I'll show you photographs. We did the international launch there. Right. Now we are censoring the film and we'll release it. Now, then the next one is something. I mean, though I'm an Odia, I have not made an Odia film. I have done a Hindi film, I've done a Kannada Mizo film, and a Marathi film.
Right.
Hopefully, the next one will be a Bengali.
Wonderful, wonderful. And you don't. I mean, you're not planning the next one until this one. It's not like you already have a series of films lined up. Once you finish the next one, then you go to the other one.
Yeah,
That will-
because I have to do it that. I'm not this high flying production house. That can only be done by people like
Yeah.
Salman Khan,
Big
Red
production.
Chilies, or Dharma Production.
Correct.
I mean, we are not nowhere near that league, and I don't want to be.
Sure.
I want my films to be remaining classics, and they will be, then they will be remembered for a long, long,
For a long quality over quantity.
Yeah.
As they say. Beautiful, beautiful. It's a brilliant discussion that we had today with so many facets of life that we discussed. It's almost like a 50-year journey condensed into 1 hour. And yeah, I mean, fantastic. Thanks a lot, Captain Mahapatra. And I'm really, actually, incidentally, you do come down to Kolkata sometimes. So we are hoping that we will have an opportunity to bring you back into our studio sometime again and discuss some more. But yeah, lovely. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.